Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking what is absolutely one of the most haunting, deeply unsettling, and just flat-out fascinating maritime mysteries in human history. We are talking about the infamous story of the Mary Celeste. By the end of our time together today, the very name of this ship is going to send a chill right down your spine. We're going to systematically break down the cold, hard facts, the bizarre evidence, and the wild theories surrounding this legendary ghost ship. So, set aside whatever you're doing, get comfortable, and let's get ready to explore the impossible.
Now, to really wrap our heads around this, we have to ground ourselves in the time period. The year is 1872. This is the era of vast, unforgiving oceans crossed by these magnificent wooden merchant ships. Keep in mind, there's no GPS, there's no instant satellite communication, and there are absolutely no rescue helicopters coming to save you if things go south. Out there, it is literally just wood, canvas, and the open sea. And it was in December of this exact year that a merchant ship known as the Mary Celeste was discovered drifting out in the Atlantic. I want you to really imagine this for a second. You're a sailor aboard a British ship called the De Gratia. You're peering through your spyglass across the water, and what you see in the distance is, well, it's a perfectly normal vessel. It's just drifting there, totally alone, in this vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. From a distance, nothing seems out of place at all. The sails are still raised up, catching the wind, and the ship is steadily making its way through the water. It looks like a completely routine voyage. But as those rescuers drew closer, that illusion of normalcy completely shattered. Okay, let's dive into this, because this is exactly where the story shifts from a curious maritime observation into a literal historical nightmare. So what happens when a perfectly normal ship is found completely empty? When those approaching sailors finally got close enough to hail the Mary Celeste, they expected an answer. Instead, they were met with absolute total silence. There was no one waving from the deck, no one standing at the wheel, just the eerie sound of the wind and the ocean waves.
This brings us to Section 1, the Eerie Ocean Discovery.
The moment those rescuers actually stepped aboard the Mary Celeste, they were hit with this horrific paradox. On one hand, you've got all the hallmarks of a totally successful ongoing voyage, right? You've got untouched cargo, food safely stored away in the galleys, and the sails are still raised. Everything about the physical ship screams that things are totally fine. But on the other hand, 0 people on board. Every single living soul had vanished. Captain Benjamin Briggs, gone. His wife Sarah, gone. Their 2-year-old daughter, completely vanished. The entire hard-working crew just disappeared into thin air. Remember, this wasn't a shipwreck. The hull was perfectly intact. The people were just gone.
Let's move on to Section 2, a ship left behind.
So, going below deck, the rescuers stumbled upon these bizarre, incredibly unsettling clues in rapid-fire succession. Boom, half-eaten meals just sitting right there on the tables. Boom, clothing and expensive personal valuables casually left behind in the cabins. And the ship's logbook? Get this, the final entry was completely normal. There was literally nothing unusual recorded before the ship just went silent. These clues paint this incredibly eerie snapshot of perfectly ordinary life that was instantly violently interrupted. But then, they noticed something huge was actually missing. The ship's only lifeboat was gone. Looking at the scene, it seemed as if everyone had suddenly abandoned the vessel in a sheer panic. But why? Think about it. Why would a highly experienced captain, along with his entire seasoned crew, take his wife and his toddler, throw them into a tiny, fragile little lifeboat, and flee into the dangerous open ocean when the main ship was completely unharmed? The cargo is untouched, the meals are literally still warm on the table? It makes 0 sense and completely contradicts the pristine condition of the Mary Celeste itself. Let's just slow down for a second here. There were no bodies, no signs of violence, no blood anywhere. If there had been a bloody mutiny or a brutal rogue wave or a pirate attack, you'd expect to see shattered wood, overturned furniture, or some sign of a massive struggle, right? But there was absolutely nothing. No evidence of foul play at all. And honestly, that haunting lack of any physical struggle only deepens the absolute terror of what might have occurred in those final moments. Think about how isolating and creepy that must feel, stepping into a perfectly still, quiet ghost ship, completely cut off from the rest of the world.
Now, what's really interesting about this next slide is how it highlights our inevitable human need for answers. Section 3, Theories of the Vanishing.
Let's methodically walk through the 3 leading hypotheses that emerged back then. Step 1. Some folks believe a sudden explosion, or maybe toxic fumes leaking from the cargo, forced the crew to escape in a frenzy, basically abandoning ship before they even had time to grab their coats or finish their breakfast. Step 2. Others strongly suspect a pirate attack, suggesting violent marauders boarded the ship, dealt with the crew, and then carefully covered their tracks. Step 3. And then, of course, because human beings are deeply superstitious, especially out at sea, some believe the Mary Celeste became something far darker, like literally a ghost ship struck by some supernatural curse right out there in the middle of the ocean.
But here's the catch. If we cross-examine these theories against the hard evidence, massive cracks start to form almost immediately. Let's take the pirate attack theory versus the actual fact of the untouched valuables and cargo. Listen, pirates are motivated by one thing: wealth. They loot, they steal, they want a payday. They would never, ever go through all the trouble of boarding a ship, taking out an entire crew, but then leaving behind perfectly good, highly valuable cargo and personal riches just sitting out in the open in the cabins. The physical evidence we have directly and totally contradicts the pirate theory.
And that leads us to Section 4, an unsolved, enduring mystery.
Guys, it has been more than 150 years, and nobody, literally nobody knows what truly happened aboard that vessel. We've had over a century and a half of modern science, rigorous historical analysis, and deep-sea investigations, and we still do not have a single definitive answer. The Mary Celeste has stubbornly refused to give up its secrets.
Which leaves us staring down this ultimate, deeply unsettling question. I really want you to let this sink in for a moment. Why would an entire crew vanish from a perfectly intact ship floating safely in the open sea? How does a family and an entire seasoned crew just disappear into the ether, leaving their meals half-eaten on the table? That is the terrifying, incredibly open-ended reality of the Mary Celeste. It's this powerful reminder that sometimes, no matter how hard we dig or how desperately we look for the logic, the world is perfectly capable of keeping its darkest secrets entirely to itself. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep wondering, keep exploring, and I'll catch you next time.